Oh my gosh, best new piece of gear for 2023. I'm ashamed to say I have no idea. I don't know gear. It's not a good guy to ask that question. It's always been the Friedman BE 100. Typically, in the studio, that's kind of my go-to, kind of the starting of the building blocks. If I'm constructing a sound, it usually starts with that. I sometimes use an orange in conjunction or a boogie. I've used a black star. I've used Fender stuff, but it all starts with that kind of plexi sound. I think it's that kind of sort of unattainable rock sound I'm always after. Favorite guitar amp on stage? I'm not in a position, unfortunately, with my career where I can have everything I want all the time. So after doing this and touring for so long, I've kind of gotten used to working with just about anything. I've used amps with a broken gain channel. I've used Fender Frontman 15s. I've used anything. But for me, it's all about having a consistent guitar and just sort of going into it with an open mind, thinking I'll play to the amp, not assuming my guitar playing is always going to sound the same through every amp. So I kind of tailor it to what I'm using. I changed to more of that vintage sound. I was kind of going for a fat, almost like woolly kind of sound, and I'm still kind of exploring that territory, trying to get as much as I can out of that. Orange has recently released a new, I believe it's the OR30, which is kind of a more vintage sounding amp, which I'm going to try out as well. There's still a whole range of stuff I need to try, but I'm kind of more after that vintage. Just plug straight into the amp kind of sound, and it's really pushing me quite a bit. It's actually a very simple answer. It's an MXR reverb pedal. I believe it's just called Reverb. And I swear they were able to take some sort of black magic and condense it into a chip, because every single one of those reverb sounds is iconic. It's incredible. Incidentally, I've lost that pedal. I don't know where it went. So MXR, if you're listening, please send me one. I would definitely favor always single coil in the neck. I have a guitar that has a humbucker in the neck too, but when it comes to a Strat, I love the sound of a single coil in the neck. There's something really warm. If you roll the tone knob back, it can almost sound like a jazz box a little bit. But for the pure, just, raw guitar sort of energy, I'm always about switching to the back pickup. It's almost like a blower switch, just flamethrower. And it's nice to have that extra boost if I need it. So I don't know, I got a foot in both camps, I'm kind of 50-50 on that. Mic'd cab every day. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the convenience, for sure. At home, I don't have an amp these days. I just use whatever's available digitally. But when it comes to the studio, there's just something about a speaker pushing air captured to a microphone. I usually put like 10 different microphones on an amp, and we don't EQ. We use the mic. We use each fader to kind of, I want more top end. All right, let's use that mic. So, for my guitar sound, especially on records like Remarkably Human or Wide Eyes in the Dark, that really big, thick, almost just like lead singer kind of sound. It's all about a mic'd cabinet. I can't seem to get away from it. It still wins. It still wins. At this point, I used to think wearing in-ear monitors was kind of like wearing a raincoat in the shower. But now at 36, I got to protect the ears, So in-ears all day. I just have a really basic set of the Sennheiser headphones. I haven't got the molded ones yet. Right before the pandemic, I had a few tours lined up, and I was going to go get the ones poured, but all those tours were canceled, so I had no reason to do it. However, 2024 might see me getting liquid plastic poured into my ears, so we'll see. I think 64 Audio does some really good ones. There's a whole bunch of great ones, but I don't know them well enough yet. Well, I have a signature model with Schecter. I have 2 different models. Well, I have technically 4 different models, I guess. I have a USA Custom Shop, and NJ Trad, and its import version, which is the Diamond Series, and then the PT Custom Shop and the PT Diamond Series. So it starts with one of those. The pickups I use, I design with Schecter as well. They're a little bit lower output, which for me anyways, I like to hit really hard, so having that extra bit of headroom, roll the volume knob back, they clean up really well. I don't usually use a pedal board, so I like to do everything with the tone knob and the volume knob. So as long as I have my guitar, we start there. I like relatively clean gain, if that makes sense. I don't really like that mid-range gain. I find that inexcusably bad. So I try to pull some of that out. Other than that, I mean, I can pretty much make any amp work, but in a perfect world, I have more of a plexi sound. You know, simple guitar into an amp. I try not to overthink it. If it sounds good, I'm pretty happy. You know, I'm really, contrary to maybe a lot of modern guitar players, I'm really not a gear head. I don't really own any pedals. I don't have an amp, and I play one guitar. So for me, it's just keeping it as simple as I possibly can. There's a couple really great guitar players coming up. One is a Italian guitar player named Matteo Manusco. I apologize if I get his name wrong. Manusco? Thank you very much. And there's a young man from Russia, I believe he's from Russia, named Max Ostro. I think he's 16 or 17. And I just played on his record, so he's going to be putting an album out. He's one to watch. You know, in about 10 years, 15 years, I'm really curious to see what he does. He's a young man, so, you know, I'm rooting for him. I hope he's from Russia. I don't know if he is. Anyway, it doesn't matter. He's from somewhere. He's from planet Earth. Jeff Beck is my all-time favorite guitar player. Specifically, Jeff Beck live at Ronnie Scott's, where you get all of the mistakes and you get the Jeff Beck coming up on stage with the baby powder, comes up, rolls the tone knob back, rolls the tone knob off, and he just plays. It's very live without a net kind of feeling, and you hear all the warts and all the scabs, but through that you get these moments of just absolute brilliance. He'll make his guitar sound like a harmonica, and he'll make you cry like a little baby, and then he'll get off stage and go and work on an engine. So I love him. There's a Canadian band. There's a couple Canadian artists I really love. There's a band called Crownlands, which is a power duo out of Toronto. They're going to be going on tour with Kiss, actually. They're really good friends of mine. And then there's an older artist. He's, I think, in his 60s now, who I'm absolutely obsessed with. His name is John Southworth. And he put out a record called When You're This in Love. It's kind of like a folk sound with a lot of strings and piano. But the harmony, the way his chord changes and his sense of rhythm and melody, untouchable. I went to the release party at this small little shitty club, this just disgusting little club. And I must have cried 8 times, I don't know. I saw him years and years ago, super unknown guy. I saw him in this small little place in this small town. And I was dumbfounded. Just, you know, when you hear something and you don't know why you like it, and but you love it. And, you know, for me, I'm always looking for great guitar playing. There's really not a lot of guitar playing, but it connected. It just connected. I would say my favorite album ever would happen to be Steely Dan, Pretzel Logic, or Steely Dan, Alive in America. I mean, production, performance, if we're going back to Pretzel Logic, it's a perfect record. And at that point in their career, I'm not sure, they had stopped touring because they were frustrated with the live sound not being good enough. So they were just a studio band at that point, and you hear that mastery. It's so cool when you hear a band, even back in the 70s, the left side's got that kind of overdriven guitar sound, and the right side is those brass section that almost sounds like a distortion. So you have those two things working together, like just groundbreaking and just amazing. Check it out if you haven't. When it comes to phrasing, that's a tough question in general. Like, what does that even mean? Phrasing to me, it just breaks down to how are you thinking about the rhythm? Having a command of, at any moment if you have a quarter note, how are you feeling that? Are you thinking of it as triplets? Are you thinking of it as dotted eighths, sixteenths? Having an in-the-moment command of almost every rhythmic value, or having a command of all the technique, but not using it. Trying to build a solo, like really trying to make a discernible effort to take the listener through the chord changes. I'm guilty of playing too many notes sometimes, but in the back of my mind, I'm always trying to just think about the rhythm. And as a white kid, I have a lot to learn still. So I'm always trying to think about rhythm and holding back, playing ahead, playing behind. It's just rhythm. It's just thinking about the note value. Oh, you really put me on the spot here. I don't know. I can't give you an answer to that. I have no idea. I don't think I have a favorite chord progression, but I like when players use triads, really simple chords, but use them as sort of a almost like vanilla ice cream, and can use different modes and different scales to kind of sweeten it differently. So imagine just an A minor chord, but thinking of it as Phrygian, or thinking of it as melodic minor or harmonic minor, and really doing something special with it to where it doesn't sound like a scale. So I just give you a simple chord, and maybe the way you hear it's different than the way I hear it, and it ends up being a totally different scale or something. And then when you think of it like that, when you think of it as a simple chord with different scales on it, those scales against the chord actually start spelling out the chords differently. So if I played an A minor chord and you played natural minor over it, okay, you're in that key. But now if I think of it as Phrygian, all right, well now I'm in the key of F, so I have 14 different chords to pick from. Or if it's now Dorian, I have 21 different, and so on and so forth. So I tend to think of it the other way. As this is a simple chord, what am I playing on it? Then all the other chords open up. Reverse math. So I'm left-handed, and my dominant hand is on the neck, which always gave me what I felt like a slight disadvantage with my picking hand and the sync between my two hands. If I am trying to play something a little faster, it gets jumbled if I'm not using my middle finger. I started hybrid picking, I think, unintentionally, roughly around the time I started playing guitar. And this was at a time where I didn't know it was called hybrid picking, or people call it chicken picking, I believe too. So it kind of came out of a necessity just to clean things up. And, the best way to really practice it is if you have, let's say you're on the G string. Let's say you play like, E and F, like 9, 10. And on the high E string, you'd play the 8th fret, so 9, 10, 8. So you're skipping a string. I would use my middle finger to grab that string skip. But the real trick, it's not even so much that, it's the muting. Because when you skip strings and you're trying to play a little faster, it can get really messy really fast. And I hear a lot of guys doing it, and the timing's a little bit broken and kind of off. I think that the key to it is muting. It's keeping it as clean as possible. Because, it's a technique, you'll develop it over time, but it's just watch the strings ringing and muting. Left hand and right hand and muting all at the same time. Sorry about that. Left and right hand, yeah. All right, so here is the NJPT in its atomic green form, string through. Beautiful guitar, ebony fingerboard, baked maple or roasted maple or cooked maple or who knows what people are calling it these days. To to me, the real special feature of this guitar is the humbucker in the neck and the push-pull, the bridge pickup. I had a lot of success with the Strat model, the traditional model, and Schecter approached me and said, "Let's do another guitar. What would you like to do?" And I think when I was 20 or so, I had a guitar with a Floyd Rose on it, and, the active pickups and the cappuccino machine, everything. It had all the switches and shit. And I sold that guitar and I bought a Telecaster, and I sort of reshaped my playing around it a long time ago. So when I was offered another model, I figured, well, the Tele is sort of what shaped my technique. I should bring that back. And fortunate enough to get it in a nice range of colors. There's a custom shop version too. I play a little different on it. It does make me play a little different, especially if I'm used to using the whammy bar. Obviously, that changes. It's a little heavier than it, so you kind of I even like hold it differently. But that was kind of the point, is I wanted something that would make me play a little different and sound a little different, while still retaining that same spec and kind of same build quality. So that's why. And it's just a beautiful machine.